So I think it's finally time to talk about this, and what better format is there to give you my reasons why I hate the Wreckers than a what's the best? You know, for a team of characters I hate so much, I actually do got a lot of them. Ground rules. Since everyone and their grandmother has been a Wrecker at some point, I'm only going to be talking about the figures of characters who are specifically known for their association with the group. If they are not famous in particular for being a Wrecker, they won't be included. So, sorry Prime Wheeljack, I know it means literally everything in the entire damn universe for you to have been one, but you won't be showing up on this list. Quick aside, after the previous episode, people seem to have misunderstood why I hate Prime Wheeljack. I've even been accused of being a G1er for it, which is hilarious to me because the G1ers hate me for not being a G1er. People think I don't like him because he's different. Prime RC is different and I like her just fine. I don't care that he's different to the G1 version. I hate him because he's a self-impressed douche who won't shut his idiot hole about how cool he is for having been in and quit the Wreckers. Because the Wreckers are so cool, and I'm so cool because I was a Wrecker, and therefore I'm as cool as the Wreckers, but I'm actually cooler than the Wreckers because I quit the Wreckers because I'm a lone wolf who won't abide by your rules. Wrecker, Wreckers, Wrecker. Fucking die, you ass clown. So yeah, you won't be seeing a Wheeljack or an RC or anyone who's just kind of been in the Wreckers at some time or another. They need to be a character who's intrinsically linked to the Wreckers. Also, since this is about the Wreckers, I can't really hold accuracy to the classic interpretation of the character as highly as I normally would, since the Wreckers themselves don't really have a classic identity in the same way individual characters do. Finally, stick around after I determine who's the best to hear my reasons why I have this clearly unpopular opinion about the team. Welcome to What's the Best? What's the best Wrecker that I own? Starting off with a character who's really not known for anything other than being a Wrecker. It's Titan's Return Topspin. What's up with his puffy proportions? I swear he looks like he's made out of marshmallows. What is he, the Stay Puft Michelin Man? For some reason, he and his brother are both completely unique looking and utterly undistinct at the same time to me. They look so generic, like default Transformer. I swear in any given show where they sweep across a gathering, this is the guy a crowd of Cybertronians is comprised 90% of. I don't know how many more ways to put it, but he bores me. Head is very super robot and generically Japanese. He reminds me of the Power Rangers in more than a few ways. Back is a weird kind of clusterfuck on him, and if you look at him from the side, he looks like a skinny nerd wearing a muscle suit. You know what? He just kind of looks like that in general. He doesn't look like he's actually big. He looks like he's wearing bulky padded clothes. Transformation on him is pretty fun. It's far from the best Titan's Return had to offer, but it's also pretty unique and distinct. It's a tiny amount fiddly, but I can firmly say that it's good. And he turns into nothing. Kind of. To be fair, this is more of a thing than a lot of other Cybertronian alt modes, but it's still just kind of nothing though. Like, what is this supposed to be, a space forklift? Nah, the times are too fat. Really, what this comes across like is just some kind of big space car with the most aggressive bumper of all time. This doesn't protect his car, it fucks yours up. I can't say that I find this all that cool. Titan's Return Cup. I can't say for sure, but from what I know, Cup wasn't actually in the Wreckers in the G1 comic, considering in his wiki entry he's not listed among its members. But he is vital to the Wreckers in the IDW comic, so I might as well count him here. This is a really good figure. It doesn't much look like the classic character, but it does hit enough of the highlights I'm comfortable seeing it as an interpretation of him. Really, it's kind of an amalgamation of several of his looks. He can stretch his waist to establish dominance, but his wrists are only good for putting him in the silliest of poses. The rest of the posing is fine, but I feel like the knees should have really been capable of pulling more than just a 90. And looking at him now that the shock and amazement have worn off, the shins are pretty bloated. Transformation on this guy is amazing, and it really does justify the massive shins. This has become a very influential figure, and for good reason. Though, due to his headmaster gimmick and the way that he's designed, if you start transforming him before you remove the headmaster, the head will fall out of the vehicle mode, it will bounce across your floor, it will end up under something, and it will try to be lost there forever. And here we have Cup's stupid alt mode. What is the point of a pickup truck without a tailgate? I mean, you could argue that this is the world's smallest semi-cab, but it's still really uncool. The lack of a back to this vehicle mode offended me greatly as a child. Broadside. It is fitting that the character who is the biggest loser in Transformers has one of the worst figures around. Broadside, the character who either turns into an aircraft carrier the size of a jet, or a jet the size of an aircraft carrier. Broadside, the character who is both afraid of heights and water should really be more afraid of the garbage because that's where he belongs. His robot mode would be fine if the animation model ever made a decision on what he was supposed to look like. But the transformation sucks, and the alt modes are worse. You got standing straight up against a wall mode, and knee lifts mode. He transforms like 5% to get to both. As I've said before, I think the only good mode for him is the seaplane mode I came up with. I can't hate this figure, I just pity it. Generations Whirl. You know, I never got a handle on this guy's character. I know he's really well loved, and I read all of the IDW comic, but I really just can't grasp who he is. From what I hear, he seems to be viewed as the Transformers version of Deadpool, but as far as I've ever been able to tell, he's literally just a completely evil and violent sociopath. Like, he tries to murder Cyclonus for a very long time because Cyclonus walked in on him talking to himself? And he's willing to sacrifice Rewind to do it? I've never understood anything he does or why he does it. For a figure, he's pretty cool. Definitely not your usual fare when talking to Transformers. As weird as he looks, he's got even weirder gimmicks. For instance, he has a plank attached to his antenna that cuts off his pathetically weak light piping. You know, somehow I've never mentioned this before, I guess because all the recent lines use paint for the eyes, but I'm the anti-Thew in this case. I fucking despise light piping. It looks okay if you shove the figure's head up a light bulb's ass and like complete lifeless crap all other times. Anyways, you can shut his off, and I don't know why you would want to do that, especially since it messes with the placement of his antenna. You can also force the struts his shoulders are on deeper into his body to change the look of his shoulders, but I worry it will snap them. And typically I just leave them out because they give him way more posability and they help him look like a freak he's supposed to be. He's got an opening canopy that nothing fits inside, and apply them yourself stickers, which are always a pain in the ass. And lastly, he's got an official Gerwalk mode. Transformation's pretty good. It's a lot simpler than you'd think, but still very unique. He turns into a pretty cool Apache helicopter. It's a little bulky at the front, but it doesn't bother me at all. His landing struts are a little far back though, so he's a bit wobbly, but they work fine. Siege Springer. He looks great for sure. Absolutely screen accurate, but his knees are kind of a pain in the ass because they don't hold together. You will never get the joint to bend before they start untransforming, and his accessories are a bitch to deal with as well. There's no good place to put them, and the swords just want to fall off all the time. He looks great. If we were going by pure looks, this is a 10. Transformation is not though. This kinda sucks. Every step of this is clashy and not fun. The whole thing is just a faff, and it's really easy to forget a step and have to go back. The end result though is great, near perfectly screen accurate renditions of both his alt modes, so it's kind of worth it. You can transform the car wrong, so it kind of comes across like a tank or an APC too, so it's kind of a quadruple changer if you think about it. Generation Springer. Oh, I'm sure a ton of you are creaming your pants right now. This has a reputation of being one of the best official Transformers products of all time, and I don't know that I can agree to that, but at the same time, this is a fucking fantastic figure. My biggest problem with this guy is that if you don't have an IDW shelf, he stands out like a sore thumb since this is so blatantly comic-inspired. Oh, and I hate the stupid little fin things. I never know where they're supposed to go in a given mode. I don't bother with whatever the hell this is. It looks stupid as hell. His posing is actually kind of weirdly limited from what you'd expect looking at him, but he's got such a dynamic design you won't really notice. Transformation is awesome on this guy. He does tons of stuff you've never seen before, and weirdly enough, pretty much not since either. But I gotta say, I really do kinda hate the ugly duckmobile. There are some cool things about it, but the front is just so hideous. From here, it's another really cool conversion to get to the helicopter mode, and utilizing a minor bit of parts forming with a really cool sword that leaves you wondering why the Siege figure did this so much lamer when it came after, you're done. This is a really interesting chopper, and it looks a lot better than the car. Generation Sandstorm, a retool of the Springer, but basically better in every way. In robot mode, he's just got something, you know? The heft of the helicopter pack just brings him some presence, and his colors are much more dynamically laid out. Despite being a retool, his transformation is also better, with a cool new backpack and the removal of the parts forming while adding so much extra mass to the mold. You'd be hard-pressed to tell that these are the same figures based on the alt modes without transforming him. Car mode is a sweet battle dune buggy, infinitely more cool than Springer's crap car. The helicopter transformation also holds together a lot better than Springer's and has more functionality, like an Osprey. So, what's the best? Broadside's the worst. Is it any surprise? He sucks. He's the worst. Next, I'm doing Topspin. Don't like the look of him in either mode, but the transformation is at least decently fun. After that, I'm going to shock everyone and go with Siege Springer. I know, but the transformation isn't fun at all, and his knees really do knock him down a peg or two. Plus, his accessories suck. Then we're going with Whirl. A pretty solid figure, but weird, and not even what the people who want a Whirl based on the comics are looking for, because this is G1 and they want IDW. Then we got Cub, a very influential figure with a blast of a transformation, and so I think the next two are kinda obvious. Runner-up is the Generation Springer, a solid figure with a striking look and an amazing transformation, with two great alt modes even if I think one is ugly. And obviously the winner is Sandstorm, the same figure as Springer, but better in every way. Better modes, better transformation, better gimmicks, and no parts forming, even though the Springer handled that aspect well. Sandstorm is the best. As promised, I now regale you with the tale of my hatred for the Wreckers. It stems from the fact that they are the most 13-year-old 90s kids idea of what cool is. They're a radical elite unit of loose cannons who break all the rules and run into battle shouting catchphrases like wreck and rule. And they have a crazy high mortality rate. So awesome! Why is dying all the time cool? The way I see it, they die so much because they fight like morons. They charge entrenched positions with melee weapons shouting stupid catchphrases to let everyone know they're there. They're basically a bunch of soccer hooligans. They're like all supposed to be badasses or whatever, but ultimately that just means they're getting good soldiers killed all the time. They suck up skilled fighters from other units and half of them die every mission. Are they like a Decepticon plot to get all the Autobots' best warriors killed? And then you got guys like Rack and Ruin on the team. So let me get this straight. You are a double-wide target with coordination issues who would have a hard time getting through a normal width door and has no capability to do a long-range attack. Every single thing about you is a liability, dude. It would kind of make sense if one had a melee weapon for an arm and the other had a gun. That way they could fight at long range while the other could fight up close both at the same time. But nope, they just both have melee weapons. Also, what are you going to do if you're the last one alive on a mission and you have to type something? Or just use a doorknob? The name fucking sucks too. We're Wreckers because we wreck things. Wreckers sounds like a name given by toddlers. You could change so little and make it cool. Wrecking Crew would have been so much cooler than Wreckers. How about the Fearless? Strikers, the Unflinching. Frontliners, the Unbreakables. Hell, even the Reckless is better. These guys are not an elite unit. An elite unit fights as a team. An elite unit doesn't shout stupid catchphrases in battle. An elite unit doesn't die all the time because of their completely incompetent way of fighting. You don't have to agree with me, but I hope you understand now that I'm not crazy and I have sound reasoning to hate them. And that's not half of what I have to say, but it's enough of what I have to say. And I'm finally breaking down and just doing it. If you enjoyed what you saw here, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you feel so inclined, please share this video with a friend. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.